On today's video, we have a comic book haul from February 2025.
It's morphin' time!
Hello, this is Soundout here, and on today's video, we're going to be talking about my comic books I picked up in February 2025. We're talking collected editions, we're talking different formats, nothing single issue because that would take way too long. But we're going to talk about everything I picked up collected edition-wise. There are 5 Epic collections, 2 DC Finest, and a smattering of other things, including a new format for Marvel, so let's dive in. If you enjoy this type of video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the notification bell. That way I know you enjoyed it and want to see more of these, and it helps the channel grow. Really appreciate that, and let's begin. Alright, let's start off with manga, and we'll start with not a manga, but it's related. The Kaiju number 8, exclusive on the 3rd Division. This is a light novel about the characters in Kaiju number 8. I've been reading it. It's pretty okay. It's not like... It's got some neat character insights, because they kind of talk about, like, the characters. It's, like, framed as, like, a TV division is, like, talking about the 3rd Division. So, like, there's a TV studio and a director, and they're, like, interviewing the characters and stuff. There's some cool, like, art pieces included, which I thought was really neat. Just, like, some illustrations to go with the stories. It's broken up into, like, 5 sections, with each of them, like, focusing on a different character. I'm in the middle of the Hoshina section. I wouldn't call them, like, chapters, because, like, each section has, like, chapter breaks in it. But each little light novel. So I'm currently reading the Hoshina one, and each one of them comes with, like, an illustration. And then it's got, like, a cool, like, flip-out extended thing here. Like, we got Hoshina and Mina there. You got Kafka, Reno, and Kikoru there, which is really nice. So it's got kind of a cool, like, premium feel to it. I didn't find it to be, like, revolutionary. It's not like something like the One Piece, like, Ace light novels that are like, here's adventures of Ace you never saw before. This is kind of like a in-between the scenes, you know, just kind of like, hey, let's give some, like, little insight into the characters. And I think it's cool. I like it. I wouldn't call it super necessary. It's kind of like the Chainsaw Man light novel was the same way, where it was like, here's little extra character stories, but not anything revolutionary. But still pretty neat overall. And I did include it just because it is published by Viz and it is connected to a comic, which is also, you know, Kaiju number 8, volume 12. So this is the 12th volume for Kaiju number 8. For those that have never checked out this series, it's one of my absolute favorites. It's about a man who is a cleanup crew for Kaiju, and he decides to join the Kaiju Defense Force, but he's, you know, he's hit the age limit. Pretty much he's almost at the age limit. He's 32, which is really funny for, like, a shonen protagonist. Usually shonen manga kind of go for younger, like, teenage protagonists, but Kafka here is, like, you know, early 30s, really relatable when you get into your 30s. But it's really fun, and it's got this really great storyline going on where he's trying to prove himself. But the big twist is that he ends up accidentally swallowing a kaiju, and he becomes part kaiju. And so that's, like, kind of where it goes. It's been going on for a while. It's really fantastic. The chapters are not, like, on a weekly schedule because it's a Jump Plus series, and so I feel like the storytelling quality is, like, definitely there. Like, every page is really, really well illustrated. The pacing's really nice. Like, Naoya Matsumoto seems to be really taking his time with everything. There's also a scene where Mina rides her giant tiger and does the Akira bike slide, so if you don't like it, you haven't tried it, I guess. I mean, everybody can try things and not like it, but anyways, I really like the series. It's one of my absolute favorites, and yeah, volume 12. Next up, let's talk Dark Horse. Now, Dark Horse is a publisher that I don't buy from a whole lot, even though I'd like to, because I really do like Dark Horse stuff. I always have a problem with their prices. Like, this is a $20 trade paperback for a 4-issue series. 4-issue series that was $4 issues means it was $16 in single, and it's $20 in trade. That's always kind of my problem with the trade paperbacks for Dark Horse. We'll talk about their other formats in a moment. So it just doesn't, you know, come up often that I, like, you know, buy Dark Horse, even though I do want to. This is their most recent Masters of the Universe miniseries, Revolution. It's, like, all a backstory on the Revolution TV series, which introduced Hordak and brought in this origin story for Skeletor. So this is kind of like showing the Horde. It's showing Skeletor joining the Horde, how he kind of got his powers, how he came to be. They have a ship that basically has, like, a Star Trek bridge layout, which is kind of fun. But it's kind of like a nice, like, prequel backstory kind of thing for Skeletor in the Revolution universe. There's also, like, a cover gallery and some sketchbook stuff in the back, which is pretty neat. But, you know, I still don't exactly get why the trades are more, like, significantly more expensive than the single issues. But yeah, I've been collecting all the trades so far from the Dark Horse stuff, so, I'm still going with it. But now, I used to buy them in single issue, and then I'd buy the trade, but I was like, well, the trades are so expensive as is, I should just get the trades. So I've just been buying them in trade. I think the next one's the Ninja Turtles Master Universe crossover, so I'll look forward to picking that up sometime in the future when the trade paperback comes out. And the other Dark Horse book is Hellboy in the BPRD 1955 to 1957. This is the second omnibus for Hellboy in the BPRD. The first one was, let me see if I remember, 1952 to 1954. This is where I like to buy Dark Horse stuff, is their larger formats, because, for example, like I mentioned, their trade paperbacks are $20, and that's pretty universal, right? So $20 for about 4 issues, sometimes 5, depending on the series. That's kind of a lot. But this hardcover, which contains 3 trade paperbacks worth, it contains 1955, 1956, and 1957, $40 hardcover. So this is what I don't get, is why is this 40 and this 20? It doesn't, like, line up. Like, if you bought, 55 to 57 in trades, it was going to be $60, but you buy it in hardcover and it's 40. Not exactly sure why that is. It's not, like, a bad thing, because it's definitely, like, really affordable. And then on top of that, this will get reprinted into a paperback that'll probably be 30. So I don't get the $20 standard trade price. Maybe it's because they already made their money on the standard trade, and then, they reprint these later. It does make me always wait for the omnibuses for Hellboy specifically, because it's been really comprehensive. They've been doing pretty much everything Hellboy in an omnibus at some point. There's some more Hellboy and BPRD they haven't done, so I imagine there's like a third omnibus coming. Part of the complication when reading Hellboy is that they do print stuff out of order. So, like, for example, this one has 57 in it, and 57, I believe, was really recent, whereas, like, 55 and 56 came out a while ago, and there's some other stuff in between. But the basic rule of thumb, for those wondering how I collect, like, the Hellboy universe, also these have, like, extensive sketchbooks. Like, with the Master of the Universe, they barely put sketchbooks in the back, but, like, here you got a lot, and they kind of expand it. And sometimes the omnibuses will also include one-shot stories or short stories that weren't in the trades. So I always kind of wait for the Hellboy omnibuses for the Hellboy universe stuff. But my strategy always is, if they release it in a paperback first, like, for example, all the Hellboy BPRD stuff, they do paperbacks first, that means they're probably going to do an omnibus collection. I think I talked about it in a previous comic haul, like Panya the Mummy's Curse. That series came out straight to standard hardcover. I don't think those are going to be then reprinted into omnibus form. I think it's going to be like, so that's kind of like my strategy, is that they put it out in standard hardcover, just get the hardcover. But if they put it out in paperback first, just wait and see, because they'll probably put it out in an omnibus. And again, the price difference is much appreciated. But yeah, this is a really nice addition. I have most of the hardcover omnibuses for Hellboy. I really like the interiors on them. But, there's a couple, I think some of the BPRD ones I couldn't get the hardcovers for, and I have the paperbacks. But it's just a lot more affordable and a lot easier, because it's chronological reading order, it's more straightforward, and it's a lot more affordable. So I don't exactly know the dichotomy, but if someone knows the answer why Dark Horse trades are so much proportionally more expensive than their omnibuses and hardcovers, I'd like to know. Moving over to DC Comics, first of all, we have a standard trade. Blue Beetle, Forever Blue, is the final trade of the Josh Trujillo, Adrian Gutierrez run on Blue Beetle. And it makes me so sad this is the end of it, because this is such a great series. If you're looking for a Blue Beetle comic to read, this is the one. Like, this is the easiest one to get. It's the easiest one to get into. And it has, like, so many cool things. Like, you have, like, a lot of great artwork, really great storytelling, really cool guest characters, really great, like, evolutions of Jaime as a character and his supporting cast. And the fact of supporting cast is here is nice, because they get kind of neglected at times. But there's, like, all kinds of really great stories in here, and just really, I don't know, I can't say enough good things about it. Like, there he is, he's fighting Lobo in this one. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely gutted when it was canceled. Especially because it was canceled prior to the first trade coming out. And I was like, oh, you didn't even, like, wait to see if the trade sales would help it. And so it bummed me out. Now, this series itself only ran 11 issues, so this volume... Oh, they did not even put the issue numbers on the back. DC's been really inconsistent about that lately, and it's like, oh no, we're going back to the 2000s. We gotta look in the inside cover. This is issues 7 through 11. This is issues 1 through 6. Now, this did lead out of a series, Blue Beetle Graduation Day, which was a 6-issue miniseries to kind of test the grounds for Blue Beetle. It actually came out of a pitch for a contest, and it didn't win the vote, but then because the Blue Beetle movie was coming up, they're like, let's do it. And this is where Josh Trujillo and Adrian Gutierrez started doing Blue Beetle stuff. And this is a great like miniseries to kick you off, and then you go straight into Scarabor and then into Forever Blue. This is one of my favorite comics of the modern day, and it's absolutely kind of sad to me that it only got the 17-issue run. What also is sad to me is that DC screwed up the spines at the last minute. I don't usually complain about spines, especially with DC. It's like, oh, inconsistent spines at DC. What, you found the fork in the kitchen? But it's the fact that, like, you know, Graduation Day and Scarabor lined up really, really nice. And then they changed the DC logo, right? They changed from the one they introduced during Rebirth back to the Bullet logo. And then because that happened between volumes, they went back to adding the blue banner instead of the little DC logo. And so now it just is inconsistent just a little bit. And I'll get over it, but, like, man, you couldn't have kept the formatting just for one trade. Also, their trades just took a ridiculous amount of time to come out. Like I said, Scarabor didn't come out until, you know, the series had already wrapped. But yeah, these 3 volumes, the only one that's in the haul is Forever Blue. But these 3 volumes, fantastic series if you ever want to read Blue Beetle. All right, the DC Finest train has not stopped rolling. I've been kind of picky because I've been collecting and reading DC for so long in my life that, you know, I can kind of be picky with DC Finest. So we have Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters. This has got the beginning of Mike Grell's run on the character with some other great art with Dick Giordano. This is covering 87 to 88, so you're in your post-crisis. This is kind of the post-crisis reintroduction for Green Arrow. And this is really, really great stuff. So when it comes to Green Arrow as a character, he had kind of like the Silver Age era where he was, you know, kind of, you know, more Robin Hood-like. Then you had, you know, the Bronze Age era of Green Arrow where it was kind of grounded storytelling. Like Neil Adams had really, like, taken Green Arrow and, like, put him into that grounded style. That's like you get a lot of the iconic Green Arrow storylines, like him fighting for the people more so than the, you know, he's looking for the little guy kind of thing. And some of the other grounded storylines, like with Speedy's drug addiction. This is kind of taking that and taking it a step further. And the reason I'm not flipping through the artwork is I don't think I can. There's no mature content warning on this book, but this is a mature series. So the first things first, I guess I can just kind of go through the table of contents. You have the 3-issue Green Arrow Longbow Hunters miniseries, which is great. It was, I believe, Mike Grell did the writing and art. Yeah, he did the writing and art on Longbow Hunters, and then you have the other creatives on this. This is such an iconic reintroduction to the character post-crisis. Oliver Queen is like an older man at this point. I say older man, he's like 43. He's older than you would expect for superheroes that usually aim like, you know, mid-20s, early 30s. He's in his 40s. It's got a lot of his relationship with Dinah Lance, the Black Canary, and it has a lot of other connections, and a lot of other iconic elements come from the storyline. It's kind of like the Batman Year One of Green Arrow mythos because it really reintroduces the character into that modern age. It sets him up in Seattle, and it's from there that the rest of the book spins out of it. So, you know, we've got Green Arrow, Longbow Hunters, we got the first 4 issues of Green Arrow, then we got 2 issues of The Question, which weren't done by Mike Grell because they were from Denny O'Neil's Question run, but Green Arrow shows up in those. And then you got issues 5 through 8 of Green Arrow, and then there was this crossover. So Fables was a crossover between a Detective Comics annual, a Green Arrow annual, and a Question annual. So you get all 3 there. And what's really cool is they had connecting covers. And so in the back, they put in the connected covers so you could see the full artwork of all 3 covers together, which I think is super, super awesome. And then it also, because it was lower on page count than some of the other volumes I looked at, it has this little timeline of like highlighting some of the DC Finest collections that are out so far and like where they fit in DC history, which I think is super cool. Like I said, I can't really show too much else in this because it has violent content, sexual content. There is partial nudity, sometimes direct nudity. It is a mature book. Each issue starts by saying, like, suggested for mature readers on the cover. Kind of interested that they didn't put that on the outside of the trade dress, but I would say that, you know, fair warning, this is more of a mature book than some of the others. I'm also not quite done reading it. I'm here at about issue 7 of Green Arrow, so I got like 2 more issues than the 3 annual crossovers. It's really good. It's really good. It's also a little depressing, so it's been taking me a little bit longer to go through because it deals with some really heavy subject matter, but it's really excellent stuff. So also from the 80s, Teen Titans The Judas Contract. This is the Marv Wolfman, George Perez run. Two of my favorite creatives of all time. I've had the blessing to meet both of them, especially George Perez has passed since, and it made me really sad the day he passed. He's such an incredible artist and storyteller. But this is one of the most famous Teen Titans storylines. So this is covering from 1983 to 1984. This volume has the origin of Deathstroke, the introduction of Nightwing, and the death of a Titan. It is stacked. This is as stacked, I think, as the Batman one, where it was year 1, year 2, and like a lot of the Jason Todd origin stuff and all that. This is an excellent thing. It's not the beginning of the new Teen Titans run. This is starting at issue 33. But we should see, I think they could probably put the first 32 and into one, because it's like 32 in an annual, I think, will probably fit into a prior volume. But this is definitely a good place to start reading Teen Titans. If you've ever seen the Teen Titans animated series, you know the Judas Contract storyline with Terra, and I won't spoil what it is if you don't know, but this is where this comes from. It is very, very interesting, because it does have this, it's a little note here. It says, all stories written by Marv Wolfman, penciled by George Perez, inked by Romeo Tongal, and colored by Adrian Roy, and all covers illustrated by George Perez and Anthony Tollin, unless otherwise noted. So they are providing proper creator credits, which I think is great. Now, the Judas Contract itself doesn't start until Teen Titans 42, which is about 344 pages into this. But it starts with Who Killed Trident, which is it's a good way to begin. And you can kind of see the evolution of the characters. You can see the evolution of Dick into Nightwing. You can see the introduction of Deathstroke's family. A lot of great stuff that pretty much every Titans adaptation is pulled from, all in this one volume. And if you've ever wanted to get into true, like, honest-to-goodness, like, Teen Titans comics, this is a volume to get into. I will also say it does have some mature content, especially the storyline with Deathstroke. It is a little bit grislier, but I do recommend it if you are in, like, the Teen Plus category is kind of where I'd put this. A lot of comics in the 80s with DC is more of a Teen Plus than you'd think. They're actually kind of hit sometimes a little more mature than the current day stuff, which is kind of fascinating in a lot of ways. But I haven't made my way through this yet. It's my next read after Green Arrow, but really good stuff overall, because I've read chunks of this before. It's one of those things like the Batman Year 1 and Year 2 volume. I hadn't read it in order, so it's going to be nice to read it in order. It's starting off Marvel, we have a new format. This is the Marvel Premiere Collection. This is kind of their answer to DC Compact Comics. Let's talk about it as it is before we compare to Compact. So the idea behind these is they're supposed to be smaller sized volumes collecting iconic storylines from Marvel history. This one I picked up, of course, because first of all, it's a new format. Second of all, it's Daredevil. And it's Daredevil Born Again by Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli. And I have to admit, I've never read Daredevil Born Again, even though it's like the most famous Daredevil storyline, I think. I have only been reading Daredevil for a few years. It's a character I was into. I liked Daredevil, but I never was reading him until recently. And so in the last few years, I've been kind of making my way through the modern Daredevil. Decided to jump into the classic when I saw this, because I bought it at Barnes & Noble. So I was like, you know what? I want to try out this format. I want to see how Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli's Born Again is. It's fantastic. Amazing. It deserves all the praise it gets. This is not necessarily the ideal format to read it in. So first things first, I think the cover's kind of bland. It's one of the covers from the series. It's this cover from the series, except it kind of doesn't have the same impact because they faded it all out so that Daredevil's so focused that the fire and like the eyes of Nuke there with the American flag are just all kind of blurred out. It doesn't have a good striking feel to it. You have the little like banner, Marvel Premiere Collection, you have like the Daredevil logo on the spine. It looks fine. It looks okay. This is $15 though, and this is kind of where part of the problem is. It's $15. It's basically it's only the Born Again storyline. So we have Daredevil 226 to 233. And what's interesting is it starts with 227, and then it puts 226 at the end because the 226 is not part of the Born Again storyline. But basically it's kind of like, what is that? It's only like 8 issues, which is not too bad, but it's not like a huge collection. It does have a brand new written forward by Charlie Cox, which is really nice because he does play Daredevil, and he talks about how like Born Again and how he first read it when he was researching for the character. We hear from Frank Miller. That man still rambles these days. Little nutty guy. But anyways, Born Again, of course, is here. Now, the one thing I have a problem with how it's presented here is not necessarily the format's fault, but because of the way that Frank Miller writes Daredevil, he does a lot of these caption boxes with narration, and because it's at a smaller size, and also because I've been wearing glasses for like many years, I can't read this at night. I can read it perfectly fine here with the bright light, but at night, TV, watching TV, lights down a little lower, it's like a pain for me to read. So this may not have been the most ideal like storyline, because there's pages where it's just like there's a lot of text and it's tiny and it's handwritten. Usually it's not an issue for me, but it's definitely something where I read this and I thought, fantastic storyline. I'd like to read more of Frank Miller's Daredevil, but I'm kind of like, maybe I should get the Omnibus so that way I can get it in a larger print size. That may be a personal issue. That may be an issue for others as well. It's a lot harder to read than I thought it would be. The page stock's kind of interesting. It's in this very like matte paper, so it's got like kind of a thick feel to it. It's got some nice bonuses. It's got some cover arts, like the clean covers of the issues. You got original pencils for the issues, script stuff. Like, it's pretty stacked with bonus material, which I think is nice. But of course, the obvious comparison is going to be this to DC Compact Comics, because DC Compact has been really doing great. These have been $10, and Far Sector is a 12-issue series, right? 12-issue series of Far Sector for $10. 12-issue series like Watchmen for $10. 8 issues of Daredevil for $15. It sort of seems like it missed the point that like part of why people would pick this up is that that $10 is not like a huge investment. $10 is cheaper than a manga volume, because manga volumes are now $12, right? But $15, that's more expensive than a manga volume. We'll talk about it in a moment, but this Wolverine trade is $16. Yeah, it's only 4 issues, but it's $16. This doesn't feel like a huge discount, whereas this does. So I think that's kind of where Marvel may have like miscalculated here. And they also kind of run into the issue of like Marvel doesn't have like a lot of standalone miniseries and storylines like DC does, like Watchmen, like Far Sector, like others I can't think of, All-Star Superman, for example. But it kind of becomes one of those things where it's like, I think their options are more limited, but I think that the price point doesn't really feel like it makes it as much of a deal. It's also just enough bigger than a compact that it does feel like, and I know I was just complaining about the print size, but I think it's just kind of like more specific to this story in particular. DC Compact are made to go into bags, and I think that this size is perfect. Like, you pick this up, you can put this in like the front pocket on an airline or a train or something. You can put it in a backpack or a small bag like a purse. Whereas the Marvel premieres are just big enough that they would be kind of tricky to stash away into a bag as easy. So you can kind of see the size scale here, right? You got like, your standard manga volume to compact to the Marvel premiere to a standard trade. So you can see the Marvel premiere is smaller than a standard trade, but not by much. It's not a huge significant drop off. It's just a little bit smaller like the compact. I think it would have had kind of that appeal. And I think also the price, right? Like at $15, you start to think about like, ooh, do I want to read this? Whereas like $10 is like, yeah, I'd give that a go. So just kind of interesting. Both publishers are trying to do a smaller format that is less expensive, and I think that DC kind of knocked it out of the park, and I think Marvel needs to tweak on it a little bit more. All right, Wolverine Resurrection. Pretend you didn't just see it in the previous shot because I didn't have another comparison. Standard trade here. This is the Wolverine miniseries. This is the Wolverine miniseries from 2024. It was the 4-issue miniseries to kind of bring back Wolverine. If you hadn't read Benjamin Percy's Ghost Rider run or Wolverine run, there was a crossover where Wolverine became possessed of the spirit of vengeance. It was Weapons of Vengeance there. And so basically, Wolverine became Wolverine. And this series picks up where Logan is encountering Wolverine. So Wolverine exists. They kind of give you a recap. If you didn't read that mini crossover, they do a recap of like what happened and stuff. But essentially, it comes down to the point where Logan has to encounter this new Wolverine. And it's like, who is Wolverine? Who is he? Why is he here? Because it's not Logan, because Logan's the one fighting him. And it's really interesting, and I think the concept is really cool. And Benjamin Percy is just a really great writer for a character like Wolverine and like Ghost Rider. And so it really does fit. It does read more like a Wolverine comic than a Ghost Rider comic. That's 100% certain. And this was apparently successful because it spun off into an ongoing Wolverine comic, which I've been enjoying so far. I definitely like the idea. It's kind of a bonkers, idea. Like, he has Wolverine with Ghost Rider powers, but they turned it into something really cool that I really do appreciate, and I'm enjoying it. All right, we got a lot of Wolverine, I'm not going to lie. This is a very Wolverine-heavy video. First of all, Wolverine Weapon X, the Deluxe Edition. So the Weapon X storyline, we pretty much all know, right? Like, if you've seen X-Men stuff, it comes up that, like, you know, Wolverine was in a lab and he was given adamantium, and that's how he became Weapon X. And that's where the adamantium skeleton comes in and everything. And for a time, we thought that was where his claws came from, until it was revealed later that wasn't the case, and he had the bone claws and stuff. This is another book I don't want to flip through on YouTube because I think they'll actually get me for it. This is a $30 paperback, though, for, like, less than 200 pages. This is not a thick book for 30. Wolverine tax high. Marvel does this because I think they know it'll sell. They did it with Wolverine Origin, a series I don't actually like that much. But this is Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X storyline. And this ran as 13 chapters within Marvel Comics Presents, which was an anthology book. So it's always listed as material from Marvel Comics Presents 72 to 84. It's not the full issues, it's just the Wolverine stuff. There was an epilogue that Larry Hama wrote in the Weapon X Collected Edition in 93. And there's an excerpt from a Wolverine issue later that connects to it. And it also includes X-Men 205, which Barry Windsor Smith did, and it was a Wolverine standalone story. This is a really excellent volume, and I hate that it's $30, because it's like what? This is $10 less than an Epic collection, and Epic collections will run like twice the page count. It's really, really good, though, and outside of... also, this X-Men issue is really good. There's also like a thing that Larry Hama wrote about how important Barry Windsor Smith's Weapon X storyline is and how good it is. It is excellent. It is really good. It's just a bummer that this is like the only easy to get format at the moment. It hasn't hit Epic Collection at all, but it's one of those really iconic, really good storylines that gets into like how, you know, Wolverine was treated in the Weapon X program, and really good stuff. Really, really good stuff. Very bad cover price. Luckily, I paid for like 40% off the cover price, so that's how you do it. I've got a stack of Epic collections, and the first one's Blade, which wasn't that great. Yeah, Blade is a character I really like. This is the first Blade Epic collection. It's Night Stalkers. Night Stalkers is actually the majority of the series in here. This is 91 to 93. So you get the 1991 Tomb of Dracula series, Night Stalkers 1 to 6, Ghost Rider 31, and material from Midnight Suns Unlimited. Because basically in the 90s, every like group of Marvel characters was being paired off. So there was a series called Night Stalkers, which was part of the Midnight Suns, which also included Morbius, the Darkhold comic, and Ghost Rider, and also Spirits of Vengeance. So there was 2 Ghost Rider books, and then Morbius, Night Stalkers, and Darkhold. They even wrapped Doctor Strange into it for a period of time. It does say Part 5 of 6 of Rise of the Midnight Suns. It's not really a crossover in that sense. It's more like, you know, the Ghost Rider 31 is like a finale that brings everything together, but it's mostly one-shots to kind of start the storylines. And then the characters that are featured in Night Stalkers, a lot of them debuted and are connected to the Tomb of Dracula series from the 70s, but specifically they are reintroduced in this Marv Wolfman, Gene Colan Tomb of Dracula 4-issue Prestige series, which is pretty good in the art capacity, and it's from a technical level really good, but from an interest level, I found it kind of dull and boring, which kind of bummed me out because I thought I was going to like it. It's, you know, Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan doing Tomb of Dracula, but it just kind of lost the vibe, as I think they were trying to go like darker and grittier in some ways, and I think it didn't work. Blade's like barely in it. And then the Night Stalkers series, I also didn't like, which is kind of a bummer because that was the reason I got it, because it's, you know, tangentially connected to Ghost Rider. That's why I was like, I need this Epic collection specifically, and I also need the next one because it's got the rest of the Night Stalker series. It only lasted like 18 issues. I also just didn't find it that interesting. I find the characters to be a little dull and bland. Even Blade is not written that interesting. This is pre-Wesley Snipes Blade. Yeah, so kind of bummed out. This was I've read through the entire thing, but I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. I thought I'd really enjoy it, but yeah, this one kind of wasn't a winner for me, if I'm being honest. Okay, Marvel 2-in-1 presents The Thing, Volume 3. This is Remembrance of the Past. This is all the issues from 1977 to 1979, so it's Marvel 2-in-1 3752, Annual 2-4, and Avengers Annual 7. I have all 3 of the Marvel 2-in-1 epics at this point, and I have not read a single one yet. I know that's bad. I am kind of progressively reading through stuff. Like right now I'm reading Daredevil because of the new TV show, because, you know, it's kind of kicked me into like the, oh my God, Daredevil. I've been in a Daredevil hype bubble for like the last few weeks. So I've been reading some Daredevil. I've been reading some other stuff. I've been reading Green Arrow. So I'm going to get back to this because I really want to read all these stories. The way that this series is formatted is so cool. It's one of my favorite things that I wish we'd bring back in comics, which is the guy teams up with guy. So the Thing and Captain America is the team up of issue 42, and then you get to issue 43, and it's the Thing and Man-Thing, which is a funny title, and then you get to issue 44, and it's the Thing and Nova. It's every issue is the Thing teaming up with someone. They had Marvel 2-in-1 that did this, Marvel Team Up, which was Spider-Man and somebody. I really like series like this. I love team-up books like this, Thing and Hercules, and I'd love to see more of them. But yeah, I got 3 of them. It's going to be a fun read, though, because I think I'm going to hit it up after I want to read through the Daredevil epics I have, and then I want to read through the Generation X, and then I'm going to hit Marvel 2-in-1 after the next thing, which kind of threw off my plan. So I'm collecting Wolverine epics now. It's I said I wasn't going to do this, and yet here I am. I really love Wolverine as a character. When I read Weapon X again, because I had read it before, I read it again in the new trade I got, and I was like, damn, I really love Wolverine stories. I kind of want to read more Wolverine. At my comic shop, they had some Wolverine epics in the used section, and one of them was Volume 6, which is Inner Fury. This is the Larry Hama run. This is part of it. This is not all of it. He actually, I did the numbers. I'm going to have to buy like 9 volumes to get all the Larry Hama run. But Larry Hama wrote Wolverine's ongoing series for many years. Also, because it was the 90s and Wolverine was popular and stuff, there was a bunch of one-shots. So these volumes are kind of funny the way they're structured, because it's like you only get 6 issues of the Wolverine comic because you get 3 one-shot graphic novels plus the Sabretooth miniseries, because Larry Hama wrote that, so I'm glad it was included. Also, where else would you put a Sabretooth miniseries but in a Wolverine volume? And then it has X-Men 25, because X-Men 25 is when Wolverine goes through a significant thing, if you know what happens in Fatal Attractions, and then Wolverine 75 is the follow-up from that. So this is kind of like that volume. And they also included Wolverine 75 in the Fatal Attractions Epic Collection. Also, some of the artwork is weird. It was the 90s. But here's the thing I gotta tell you. I was reading Daredevil, got a little sad. I was reading Green Arrow, got really sad. And I was like, man, I need a lightweight, fun comic. And I bought this Wolverine volume, and I read it in a couple days, because the first storyline here was like Inner Fury, which was like one of these like DJ Chichester and Bill Skidskowitz stories where it's like, oh my god, the artwork's beautiful, I have no idea what's happening in the story. And I was like, man, okay, maybe I regretted buying this. And then I got to the first storyline that Larry Hama in Larry Hama's run in this volume, and it's Wolverine fighting dinosaurs with Rogue and Jubilee. And boy, was that exactly what I needed for my mental health. This was such a fun read. The Sabretooth series was also fun. It was a little darker, it was a little edgier, but it was really fun. And I really like the stuff that happens to Wolverine in Fatal Attractions from a character perspective, because it really was like a motivating like push forward for him. And it's an interesting storyline, which it seems like X-Men 97 is adapting, which is awesome. I got this for the Larry Hama run. The other stuff around it is also excellent. And it's not the only Wolverine volume. Yeah, my comic shop also had Volume 8, The Dying Game, which is from like 2015. And so this is an even older one. And you can see it's like super thick because it's printed on that old paper stock they used to use for epics. It also means it is yellowed a little bit. Sometimes the yellowing is a major issue with there's a certain run of epics. I think it was like 2015 they had this issue where one printer printed it where the pages can yellow. With this, it doesn't seem to have affected the white space on the inner pages, and because a lot of it is black backing full bleed stuff from the 90s, I didn't think it was an issue. Also, finding older epic collections can get very expensive because of the market, so yeah, I definitely picked this up. So Dying Game is Volume 8. And so Volume 8 has issues 87 to 100, Annual 95, and the Wolverine Knight of Terra one-shot. We kind of had less one-shots at this point. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in here. Like, look, there's Alpha Flight, and he's fighting Vindicator, and a really creepy, like, big old Cyberhead. Unless that was Vindicator. It's going to be some crazy 90s stuff. I'm looking forward to reading it. But you may have noticed I had 6. Here's 8. What about 7? Yeah, what about 7? Yeah, To the Bone is a more recent one, so I was able to buy this online. 76 to 86, Cable 16, Wolverine Evolution, Wolverine Nick Fury, Scorpio Rising, and Ghost Rider Wolverine Punisher, The Dark Design, which I haven't even read, which I should, because it's a Ghost Rider storyline, but I haven't. So yeah, I have now volumes 6, 7, and 8. I also have ordered 9, and it's on the way. 6, 7, 8, and 9 are all Larry Hama run. They're sequential volumes, which is going to be fun to read. Really, really enjoy. Like, I really enjoyed that volume 6, and maybe just because I needed something fun. But this is going to get into like the stuff that happens post Fatal Attractions. I'm looking forward to seeing. The volume 9 will also be good to have. So then I have that. The only volume from Larry Hama's run I don't have is 3. So I'm hoping that gets a reprint at some point in the future. But it's going to be kind of fun reading some Wolverine, especially because I really like Larry Hama. I fell in love with his writing style from G.I. Joe, and him writing Wolverine is just awesome. So that was this month's haul. I kind of just thought about this. Maybe I should do this for like future hauls, is like just show all the spines like at the end. Like, here, look at the stack. Here's all the spines. Look, if I can do them in one stack. Just kind of a thought, because, you know, I do show all the spines on it, but here's what they look like together. I really love Epic Collection spines because they have like the colors, but then I really like the consistency with DC and the character portraits being in color. I think I like both. I like both for different reasons. Anyways, this was a fun haul to do. I just realized, though, no omnibuses this month, which was quite surprising. That will not be the case in March. So you want to hit subscribe and notification bell so you don't miss out. I'm looking at probably 2 Omnis, maybe 3. Depends on how budgets shake out, but I'm getting at least 2 of them. So there's going to be some definite stuff you want to check out in March. Leave any comments down below. Tell me what you picked up or what your favorite book was that I picked up. Did you pick up anything I picked up? You know, that kind of stuff. All good things in the comments. And also hit the like button down while you're down there if you haven't already. If you want to continue the conversation, join our Discord server in the link below, where you can get alerts to new videos, as well as have awesome conversations. And consider joining as a channel member to help support the channel directly. You can do so, and it gets early access to videos, member-exclusive live streams, and special shoutouts. Let's give some special shoutouts. Special shout out to all of our channel members, including our captain tiers: Spin-54, Toma K, Jamie's World, MasterBin95, Super Shaddix Boom, Forever1000, Ben Odinson, Philippe Serino, Common Pikachu, Mr. Smelly Potato, Vigo, Michael Flores, BV Universe Official, Spidey Brian, Colm Creed, The Clueless Collector, and Common Spidey. Thank you everybody for your support of this channel. If you so wish, I'm on social media at Blue Sky and Discord at Soundout12. You can also find my wonderful graphic designer on social media and Discord at DarkClaw643. And you can find Hero Club at HeroClub.com for interviews, comic reviews, and more. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.